Welcome back to the channel The Coin Empire, the place where we explore the hidden stories, shocking values, and unbelievable mysteries behind everyday coins that many people ignore or spend without a second thought, and today we are diving into one of the most fascinating and potentially valuable pennies ever discussed in the world of coin collecting. The mysterious 1971 1-cent United States coin that some collectors believe could be worth as much as $89 million under extremely rare circumstances due to a combination of unusual minting errors, rare production mistakes, historical mint variations, and the incredible power of collector demand. And while most people see a simple copper penny and think it is worth only 1 cent, experienced numismatists understand that sometimes the smallest coin can hide the biggest treasure, especially when the coin comes from a year filled with minting experiments, equipment changes, and production challenges at the United States Mint. And the 1971 penny is a perfect example of how a tiny piece of metal can become a legend in the collecting community when rare characteristics appear together on a single coin, because during the early 1970s the United States Mint was producing billions of pennies to keep up with circulation demand, and when production runs are that massive, mistakes can and do happen. And these mistakes are exactly what collectors hunt for, because errors are what transform a normal coin into a rare collectible artifact that may be worth thousands, hundreds of thousands, or in legendary theoretical cases even millions of dollars depending on the uniqueness of the error and the condition of the coin. And one of the most talked about possibilities with the 1971 penny is the presence of dramatic double die errors where the design of the coin appears duplicated due to a misalignment during the die creation process. And when this happens, the letters of Liberty, the date 1971, and the words "In God We Trust" can appear slightly doubled or shadowed, which collectors call a double die obverse. And if such a coin is discovered with extremely strong doubling visible without magnification, it becomes instantly desirable because double dies are among the most famous error varieties in American coin collecting. And some collectors believe that a previously undiscovered extreme double die could still be hiding in circulation, which would instantly turn an ordinary penny into one of the most famous coins ever discovered. But doubling is only one of the possible mistakes that could make a 1971 penny incredibly valuable. Another possibility is a dramatic off-center strike where the coin blank was not properly aligned in the minting press and the design was stamped off to one side, leaving a portion of the coin blank. And when off-center errors show both the date and a large blank area, collectors often pay huge premiums because such coins are visually dramatic and extremely rare when they escape quality control at the mint. And there are also cases where the coin could be struck on the wrong metal planchet, which is another mint error that fascinates collectors because every coin is supposed to be struck on a specific metal composition, but occasionally a blank intended for a different denomination or even a different year ends up inside the press and receives the wrong design, creating a rare hybrid coin that should not exist. And if a 1971 penny were discovered struck on a dime planchet, a foreign coin planchet, or another incorrect metal blank, it could instantly become a headline, making discovery worth an enormous amount of money depending on rarity and collector excitement. And the early 1970s were also known for die cracks and cuds, which are raised blobs of metal that appear when a die begins to break after being used for millions of strikes. And sometimes these die breaks create large unusual shapes that collectors consider major errors, especially when the break covers part of the design or creates a dramatic raised feature on the coin's surface. And such pieces are extremely popular with collectors who specialize in error coins because each one is unique and tells the story of the minting equipment slowly wearing down under the pressure of production. And beyond those well-known errors, there are also broad strike coins, which occur when the retaining collar of the minting press fails to hold the coin in place during the strike, causing the metal to spread outward, creating a larger, flatter coin with a missing or distorted rim. And broad strikes are fascinating because they show exactly how powerful the minting presses are and how a small mechanical failure can produce a completely different looking coin. And in rare cases a coin might even receive multiple strikes from the dies, resulting in overlapping images, which is another spectacular error that collectors dream of finding. And when a coin like that also happens to be from a year with strong collector interest like 1971, the value can skyrocket because collectors compete fiercely for unique pieces. And speaking of the year 1971, it was an interesting time in United States coin history because the country was dealing with economic changes and the mint was under pressure to produce enough coins for commerce, which meant machines were running constantly, and sometimes that intense production environment allowed unusual errors to slip through inspection. And while the vast majority Of 1971 pennies are perfectly normal coins worth only a few cents above face value in circulated condition. There are always rumors and collector stories about undiscovered extreme errors that could change everything if they were ever found, and the idea of an $89 million penny might sound unbelievable, but in the world of rare coins values are determined by rarity, condition, historical significance, and collector demand, and if a coin appears that combines several impossible features such as an unknown double die variety, a wrong planchet strike, and near-perfect mint condition, then collectors and investors could compete so fiercely that the price climbs into astonishing territory, especially when wealthy collectors want to own the only example known to exist, because uniqueness is the most powerful force in the rare coin market, and this is why coin experts always recommend checking old jars of pennies, inherited coin collections, and even pocket change, because incredible discoveries have happened before when someone casually looked closely at a coin that others ignored for decades, and sometimes a coin that appears ordinary at first glance reveals a tiny detail under magnification that transforms it into a rare variety worth a fortune, and collectors often use magnifying glasses or digital microscopes to inspect the lettering, date, and surfaces of coins, searching for subtle signs of doubling, repunched mint marks, die chips, or unusual textures that signal a minting anomaly. And even the color and luster of the coin can make a huge difference, because uncirculated pennies with bright original red surfaces are far more valuable than worn brown coins, and when condition meets rarity the price can rise dramatically. And this is why professional grading services exist to authenticate and evaluate rare coins, because once a coin is certified as genuine and graded at a high level, collectors gain confidence to pay extraordinary prices at auctions, and the story of the 1971 penny continues to fascinate collectors because every year new discoveries are still being made in old rolls and forgotten collections, proving that the hunt for valuable coins is far from over, and the possibility that a unique 1971 era penny could still be hiding somewhere keeps collectors searching through bank rolls, estate sales, flea markets, and coin shows, hoping to find the next legendary discovery, because history has shown that the rarest coins often appear when someone least expects it, and that is the magic of coin collecting, where a single small detail can turn a simple copper cent into a life-changing treasure. And so the next time you see a 1971 1-cent coin, do not dismiss it too quickly, because within that tiny piece of metal there could be an extraordinary story of minting mistakes, production quirks, and collector excitement waiting to be discovered. And if the right combination of errors ever appears on a surviving example, the value could soar beyond imagination, turning an ordinary penny into one of the most talked about coins in the entire collecting world, and reminding us all that sometimes the smallest objects hold the biggest surprises. Next, 2015 D1 Centusa coin. Today we are diving deep into one of the most surprising modern coin discussions that has fascinated collectors and treasure hunters alike, the 2015 D United States 1-cent coin. A small copper-plated zinc penny that most people would never look at twice, but which under certain extraordinary circumstances has been rumored in collector circles to reach values as high as $86 million due to rare minting mistakes, extreme error combinations, and the powerful forces of rarity and demand in the world of numismatics. And while millions upon millions of these coins were struck for everyday circulation at the Denver Mint in 2015, the truth that experienced collectors understand is that mass production sometimes leads to small imperfections, and occasionally those imperfections become legendary errors that turn a coin originally worth 1 cent into a treasure that collectors dream of finding in pocket change, coin jars, or forgotten piggy banks. And the story begins with how modern pennies are produced, because the minting process is incredibly fast and precise, but still relies on heavy machinery that strikes metal blanks with tremendous pressure, and whenever machines operate at such speed there is always a possibility for something to go wrong, and when something unusual happens during the creation of a coin, that mistake can create an error variety that collectors later identify and study. And the 2015 D penny is especially interesting because modern coins are supposed to be nearly perfect due to improved technology, meaning that when an error does slip through quality control it becomes even more exciting and valuable to collectors who specialize in modern mint mistakes. And one of the first possibilities that could make a 2015 D penny extremely valuable is a dramatic double die error, a phenomenon that occurs during the creation of the die used to stamp coins when the design is accidentally impressed more than once in slightly different positions, causing visible doubling in letters, numbers, or other details on the coin. And when such doubling appears clearly on the date, the word liberty, or the national motto "In God We Trust." Collectors immediately recognize it as something special because double die coins are some of the most famous and valuable varieties ever discovered in American coin collecting history. And if a particularly dramatic double die variety from 2015 were discovered showing strong separation lines visible even without magnification, the coin could become extremely desirable, especially if only a few examples existed, because rarity combined with visual appeal is exactly what drives collectors to pay extraordinary prices for coins that stand out from the billions of ordinary pieces in circulation. And beyond double dies, another possible reason a 2015 penny might become incredibly valuable involves off-center strikes, which occur when the blank metal disc called a planchet is not perfectly aligned between the dies when the coin is struck, resulting in a design that appears shifted to one side while part of the coin remains blank. And off-center coins are fascinating because they show exactly how the minting process can go wrong, and collectors love them particularly when the date is still visible because the presence of the date proves the year of the error and adds historical context to the piece. And when the off-center strike is large and dramatic, the coin becomes even more visually impressive, increasing its desirability in auctions and private collections. And another possible minting mistake that could transform a simple 2015 penny into a legendary collectible is the wrong planchet error, one of the most exciting discoveries in modern coin collecting, which happens when a blank intended for a completely different coin is accidentally struck with the penny design, creating a hybrid coin that should never exist according to normal mint procedures. And such coins can be struck on dime planchets, foreign coin blanks, experimental metal discs, or other unusual materials. And when this happens, the resulting coin looks obviously different from a normal penny because its size, weight, or color may not match the expected specifications, and collectors immediately recognize these anomalies as rare mint errors. And the rarity of such pieces can drive values into astonishing territory depending on how unusual the planchet is and how many examples exist. And another fascinating possibility with the 2015 penny involves die cracks and die breaks, which occur when the steel dies used to strike coins begin to fracture after producing hundreds of thousands or even millions of coins, and when a crack forms in the die it appears as a raised line on the coin's surface, sometimes running across the design in dramatic patterns that collectors find extremely interesting. And if the crack grows large enough, it can produce a feature known as a cud, where a chunk of the die actually breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin where the design should be missing. And large cuds are especially desirable because they represent severe die damage and create coins that look dramatically different from normal examples. And in addition to these errors, there are also broad strike coins which occur when the retaining collar that normally holds the coin's edge in place during striking fails to function properly, allowing the metal to expand outward and produce a coin that is wider and flatter than normal with a distorted rim. And such coins are instantly recognizable because their shape appears unusual compared with standard coins, and collectors often pay strong premiums for dramatic broad strike errors, especially when the coin remains in excellent condition with sharp details despite the unusual strike. And yet another possibility involves multiple strike errors where a coin remains inside the striking chamber and receives more than one impression from the dies, creating overlapping designs or rotated images that look almost surreal. And these coins capture the imagination of collectors because they visually demonstrate the mechanics of the minting press and the chaotic moment when the process failed to eject the coin properly before the next strike occurred. And modern coins rarely escape the mint with such dramatic mistakes due to advanced inspection systems, which makes surviving examples even more exciting when they are discovered years later in circulation. And the year 2015 itself was a period of high production for the United States Mint as billions of pennies were created to supply commerce across the country. And although the mint maintains strict quality control procedures, it is impossible to examine every coin individually when production numbers reach into the billions, meaning that a tiny number of unusual pieces can slip through and enter circulation unnoticed. And this is why coin collectors constantly search through rolls of pennies obtained from banks, hoping to find rare varieties or mint errors hiding among ordinary coins, because history has shown that incredible discoveries can happen when patience and careful observation come together. And the excitement of finding a valuable coin in everyday change is one of the reasons coin collecting has remained such a popular hobby for generations. And sometimes the discovery of a new error variety can instantly change the reputation of a particular coin because once collectors learn that a rare mistake exists they begin searching intensely for more examples, driving demand and increasing the value of any pieces that are authenticated, and the concept of a penny potentially reaching a value of $86 million might sound unbelievable to many people, but the coin market operates on a unique combination of rarity, historical interest, condition, and collector competition, and when wealthy collectors compete to own the only known example of a remarkable coin, the price can rise far beyond what most people imagine possible, because in the world of high-end numismatics uniqueness is priceless, and collectors often dream about the possibility that a coin sitting unnoticed in a jar of change might actually be a rare mint error worth a fortune, and that dream keeps people searching through old piggy banks, estate collections, flea markets, and coin rolls from banks hoping to uncover something extraordinary, and even modern coins like the 2015 penny can become part of this treasure hunt because new error varieties are sometimes discovered years after the coins were first released into circulation, proving that the story of a coin is never truly finished. And condition also plays a massive role in determining value because coins that remain in uncirculated or near perfect condition with bright original surfaces are far more desirable to collectors than coins that have been worn down through years of handling, and professional grading services exist to evaluate and certify coins as last 1984 1-cent USA coin. Today we are exploring one of the most talked about pennies among collectors and treasure hunters, the 1984 United States 1-cent coin, a coin that most people have probably seen countless times without realizing that certain rare versions could potentially be worth an astonishing $80 million due to unusual minting errors, production mistakes, and extraordinary combinations of rare characteristics that make collectors around the world extremely excited whenever a new discovery appears. And at first glance the 1984 penny seems completely ordinary because it carries the familiar portrait of Abraham Lincoln on the front along with the words "I in God we trust," liberty, and the date 1984, while the reverse shows the classic Lincoln Memorial design that was used on pennies for decades. Yet hidden within the billions of coins produced during that year there are possibilities for unusual varieties and errors that transform a simple copper-colored coin into a rare collectible artifact with enormous value. And to understand why such a coin could become so valuable it is important to look at how coins are made in the first place because the minting process involves massive mechanical presses striking metal blanks called planchets with steel dies that carry the coin design, and these machines operate at extremely high speeds producing thousands of coins per minute, which means that even though the process is carefully monitored there is always a chance that something unusual might happen during production. And when a mistake occurs the resulting coin may display unique features that collectors call mint errors, and these errors are exactly what can transform a normal coin into a highly valuable treasure, and one of the most famous possibilities for the 1984 penny involves the double die error, particularly the dramatic doubling seen on some examples where the details of Abraham Lincoln's ear appear clearly doubled, a feature that collectors often refer to as the doubled ear variety. And this happens when the die used to strike coins receives multiple impressions from the master design during its creation, slightly misaligned so that the design elements appear duplicated on the finished coin, and when such doubling is strong and visible even without magnification collectors immediately recognize it as a rare and desirable variety. Because double die coins have long been among the most famous and valuable pieces in American coin collecting history, and the 1984 doubled ear penny is already well known among specialists, but the possibility always exists that an even more dramatic or previously unknown double die variety could be discovered in old collections or coin rolls, and if such an example appeared with exceptional clarity and in near perfect condition it could generate enormous excitement in the numismatic community, pushing its value into astonishing territory as collectors compete to own one of the rarest pennies ever found. And beyond double dies there are many other minting mistakes that could make a 1984 penny incredibly valuable, including off-center strikes where the coin blank was not perfectly aligned when it was struck by the dies, causing part of the design to be missing while another portion appears shifted toward the edge of the coin, and off-center coins can be extremely dramatic visually, especially when the date remains visible while a large portion of the coin is blank, because such pieces clearly demonstrate the moment when the minting process went wrong, and collectors love these coins because each one is unique and tells a story about the mechanical challenges of producing billions of coins each year. And another fascinating possibility is the wrong planchet error, which occurs when a coin is struck on a metal blank intended for a completely different denomination or even a foreign coin. And if a 1984 penny were discovered struck on a dime planchet, a bronze blank from another year, or an experimental metal disc, it would instantly become a remarkable rarity because such coins should not exist according to normal mint procedures, and wrong planchet errors are especially exciting because they combine the design of one coin with the metal or size of another, creating a hybrid object that stands out immediately to trained collectors. And when such coins appear in high-grade condition, they often become the centerpiece of major collections and command impressive prices at auctions. And in addition to these dramatic errors, there are also die cracks and die breaks which happen when the steel dies used in the minting process begin to wear out after striking hundreds of thousands of coins, and small fractures can appear in the die surface which then show up as raised lines on the coins produced by that die. And sometimes these cracks grow larger and form what collectors call cuds, where a portion of the die actually breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the coin where the design is missing. And these unusual shapes attract collectors who enjoy studying the progression of die damage because they reveal the life cycle of the minting tools and the stress placed on them during high-volume production. And when a large cut appears on a coin, it can make the piece especially desirable because the design looks dramatically altered, turning a familiar coin into something that appears almost sculptural in its texture. And there are also broadstrike errors, which occur when the collar that normally surrounds the coin during striking fails to hold the planchet in place, allowing the metal to spread outward under the force of the press and producing a coin that is wider and flatter than normal with a distorted or missing rim. And broad strikes are popular with collectors because they provide a clear visual example of how powerful the minting process is and how a small mechanical malfunction can create a coin with a completely different appearance. And another rare possibility involves multiple strikes, where a coin remains inside the striking chamber and receives more than one impression from the dies, sometimes at slightly different angles, resulting in overlapping images or rotated designs that make the coin look almost surreal. And such pieces are among the most fascinating mint errors because they capture the exact moment when the coin failed to eject properly before the next strike occurred, creating a layered design that tells a story about the rapid rhythm of the minting machinery. And the year 1984 itself was part of a period when the United States Mint was producing enormous quantities of pennies for circulation, meaning that billions of coins were struck that year, and whenever production numbers are that high, the statistical possibility of rare errors increases simply because of the scale of manufacturing involved. And even though the Mint maintains strict quality control procedures, it is impossible to examine every single coin individually when so many are being produced every day, so a small number of unusual pieces inevitably escape into circulation where they remain hidden until a collector eventually discovers them. And this is why coin enthusiasts often search through rolls of pennies obtained from banks or examine old jars of change inherited from family members. Because history has shown that remarkable discoveries can occur when someone takes the time to look closely at coins that others might ignore, and the excitement of potentially finding a rare variety in everyday change is one of the reasons coin collecting continues to attract new enthusiasts generation after generation. And the idea that a tiny coin could be worth $80 million may sound unbelievable, but the rare coin market is driven by the forces of rarity, demand, historical interest, and condition. And when a coin combines several extraordinary characteristics such as a dramatic error, extremely limited surviving examples, and exceptional preservation, the price can rise dramatically as wealthy collectors compete to own a piece that no one else can obtain. And in such cases the coin becomes more than just currency because it represents a unique artifact of minting history, a physical record of the moment when something unexpected happened during the creation of the nation's coinage. And collectors are often willing to pay astonishing sums to secure such pieces for their collections, especially when the coin becomes widely known within the numismatic community and gains a reputation as one of the most fascinating errors of its era. And condition also plays a major role in determining value because coins that remain in uncirculated or near perfect condition with sharp details and original luster are far more desirable than coins that have been worn down through years of circulation. And professional grading services exist to evaluate and certify coins.